Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rachalea podcast. Today is Wednesday. We are halfway through the week. And it's a very exciting week and a very exciting day because today we are officially starting the Crazy Candace Owens podcast series. If you guys have a better name for the Crazy Candace Owens series, it's a little bit long, let me know in the comments. We could fit the word liar in there somewhere, manipulator somewhere in there, bully somewhere in there. She, in my opinion, her behavior is disgusting. She's an atrocious person who has no morals or values. That's my opinion, and I always bring receipts and proof. I will prove all of this throughout the series. You guys know for a long time, I have been making videos about her. She says I harass her. I'm just doing what she does for a living, which is criticize people, critique people. But I actually have a good reason for doing it because Candace Owens, and I will bring proof, and I'm excited to do this podcast series. She doesn't like Jews. She just doesn't like Jews. I call her a medieval Jewish hater, a medieval Catholic Christian Jewish hater, because I think it's a theological thing. Her anti-Semitism became way worse after she met her husband, and specifically after she became a Catholic. I think this is a religious, theological thing, and the Catholic Church has a long history of hating Jews and killing Jews, and I don't hold Catholics responsible for that today, but I do hold Catholics who hold opinions like Candace Owens. I do hold them accountable because they endanger Jewish people like Candace Owens does. But she doesn't like Jews. She just hates all things Judaism, the Jewish homeland, anything that has to do with Jews, Jewishness. She doesn't like it. I did a 180 on Jewish people. And I used to I used to make a lot of videos about her hating Jewish people. I now just want to make videos about how she's lying. How she's just a liar. She lies through her teeth. She tells half-truths. She manipulates everything. And I'm so excited to prove it. And I'm doing this because no one else does it. You guys know that I'm very much pregnant, thank God. And for a while, I just completely left social media. I didn't want to do anything online. I wanted to, when I go online, obviously, after October 7th and seeing all the horrific Jew hatred in the world, it gets me fired up and I want to make videos and I get upset and I get, not upset, I get passionate. And my body is in fight or flight mode and I'm making videos. Candace Owens calls this harassment. We'll get there soon. This is what it is. We live in America, free speech. So anyways, I decided not to do that for a couple months. I was so sick right when I got pregnant for 4 or 5 months. And thank God I'm feeling a little bit better. I wanted to give my baby a safe, calm place to grow, to come into existence. So I said, no social media, no Candace Owens. I can't listen to her lies. I can't listen to her lie on the Piers Morgan show, and Piers does nothing about it. She'll say something, a lie, she'll lie through her teeth, and Piers will just allow it. And I'm sitting there, I remember right when I was starting to feel better, I was lying down in bed watching one of the Piers Morgan interviews, and I was like, she just lied. Someone say something. This woman just lied. Say something, do something. But no one ever does. People call her a liar, but they don't show why. They don't say why. They don't make videos proving it. And that's what I'm going to, that's exactly what I want to do. I have a very strong sense of justice. I hate liars. Not just Candace Owens. This is not special to Candace Owens. It's just that she lies more than most people. She tells half-truths more than most people. She manipulates things more than most people. And that's why, as long as she does that, this series will continue. The day that she stops, we'll stop. If someone else were doing this, I wouldn't feel compelled to do it. But when I watch Piers Morgan, who is this pathetic lump of spinelessness, he is so pathetic. He allows her to, honestly, I think he likes when people bully him. She calls him the most atrocious things, and he just bows, all hail Candace Owens. It's so gross, and she'll say things for example, and this is not why I wanted to make today's podcast. You'll see in a minute where we're going with this, but a few times, he had her a bunch of times because she's so crazy that she brings in views. He said that people call you an anti-Semite. What do you have to say about that? When she's like, well, in this world, you're not allowed to criticize Bibi Netanyahu. So I'm just criticizing Bibi. I refuse to worship Bibi, and that's why they call me an anti-Semite. That's not why people call you an anti-Semite. Most Jews I know criticize Bibi Netanyahu. He knows. He signed up to be the prime minister of Israel. That's what happens. Any public figure, and specifically the leader of a country, is going to be criticized. I don't call any of my friends or family members or whoever that criticize Bibi Netanyahu Jew haters, anti-Semites. She's a Jew hater because she said that because she says things like The state of Israel was created for pedophilia. And we're going to get to that today. She's a Jew hater because she says that there's a special sect of Jews called Frankists who throughout history have drank Christian Jewish child blood. They wanted this young Christian blood, and they did it as like a religious sacrament on Passover. And Pierce just, you're right. You're allowed to criticize baby. That's not why people stop lying. Stop lying. Our people, the Jewish people, have been maligned for so long. I'm sick of it. And that's why we're doing this today. We're going to get to all of this. Today, we're not going to be talking about her lies or debunking her lies. Throughout this podcast, I want to go through Catholic history, through Jewish history. There are so many things that she says that are so ridiculous and like no one proves her wrong. It's not that hard to do 10 minutes of research and just see that she's lying through her teeth, or she's telling a half truth, or she's manipulating the truth. We're going to get there. Today, I have one goal, I have one aim: to show that Candace Owens and prove that Candace Owens is obsessed with Jews. And this is why I want to show this to you, because recently, she lied again. And again, we're not getting to her lies today, but I want to show she's obsessed with Jews for a certain reason. There was this little spat that she had with Seth Dillon. Seth Dillon is the founder and the CEO of the Babylon Bee, which is a satire news website. I love them. I'm going to show you guys some of their work here because I want you to understand, if you don't, everyone I know pretty much follows them. They're like, very well known. They're hilarious. They're a conservative satire news website. So I'll give you an example of something they did recently that made me laugh because they're funny. They wrote, "Liberals briefly paused chanting death to Israel to call Elon Musk a Nazi." I shared that. I laughed at that. It was a relief to see that on social media. It was so ridiculous. When Elon Musk, it looked a little weird. He did that salute. It was like, okay, that didn't look great. We all know he's not a Nazi. We all know that wasn't a Heil Hitler salute. It was ridiculous. And the people who were most upset about it were people like AOC, like the people who hate Israel, who hate the Jewish homeland, who call Jews genociders. So it was funny, right? That's what they do. Another one that I laughed so much at was Gavin Newsom rushes into burning building to inform fire victim that Trump is bad. It's funny because it's true, right? They're making fun of things that are true, but that are so ridiculous. Like, instead of just saying this is so ridiculous, you make a joke about it and it's funny. Well, the Babylon Bee made the mistake of making a joke about Candace Owens, okay? They made a mistake. I'm not serious about that. It's not really a mistake, but she went crazy because you'll learn this with Candace Owens. And if you look at her stuff, Candace Owens for a living criticizes people. She attacks people. I think she does harass people online because she hits them and hits them and hits them. I don't know if it's called harassment, but she attacks and attacks and attacks and attacks. But you're not allowed to criticize her back. This is something that I learned very quickly, and she's such a hypocrite and a big crybaby. For a living, she makes fun of people, she criticizes people. Sometimes she's right. She's saying someone did something wrong, and they did, and she's right. That's her job. She's a political and cultural commentator. That's what you do. You talk about people. The second anyone talks about her, she explodes. It's called being a crybaby. It's called being self-important. She cannot laugh at herself. You're not allowed to talk about her or else you're harassing her. When she, just to go back for a few years, the whole thing that happened with Kanye West, this is how this all happened. I was making content about her because I liked her stuff. I love strong, outspoken women. I used to like her. I love Megyn Kelly. I love a lot of these women who are out there in the world and speaking their minds. I love it. And all of a sudden, she did a 180. Kanye West started saying things like, Jews milk black people until they die, right? That was called Jew hatred, I would say. He said that Hitler was a good man. Also, that's also a horrible thing to say. And she just encouraged him, defended him, protected him. All she had to say was, he's a friend. She could have said that, but I don't agree with what he's saying. But she wouldn't say that because, in my opinion, she agreed with him. And her defense was, we're best friends. We're friends. They met like 4 days before. They had just met. That was very suspicious to me. Like, what is she not telling the public, right? I started making videos about how I thought it was strange that she was defending and protect. I remember she got on the Daily Wire where she was doing her podcast then. And she started almost crying. She had like tears in her eyes saying that Kanye's finally free. as he's saying that, he's going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, and that Jewish people are running the world, and Jewish people kill black people in Hollywood, and like, oh, really? That's what makes him free? He's free now that he can bag on Jewish people? It was ridiculous. So I started making videos about her and just saying, this is disgusting. And she went crazy. She told millions of people online that my dad and I are harassing her. She showed a picture of my face. She showed my videos, which is great for me. Thank you for publicizing my content to your millions of followers. But I was laughing. I said, this woman attacks people for a living, and then when you criticize her back, it's harassment.
Rabbi Shmuley Boteach was threatening me, and it wasn't just him. It was also his daughter. They were messaging me saying, don't mess with Jews. Very bizarre stuff, and they have not stopped, to be clear.
And she even pulled the race card on me and said, how is it possible that Rachalea, a Jewish woman, is allowed to say don't mess with the Jews to a black podcaster? Really, Candace? Anyways, this is what she did to the Babylon Bee. Let's get back to our story. This is what she did to the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee on Christmas Eve, or on Christmas Day, or the week of Christmas, I don't exactly remember, December 23rd. So that's Christmas Eve, right? Before Christmas. They made a joke about her. It was funny because it's true. Okay, the joke was funny. They posted, Candace Owens is horrified to learn that Christmas was started by the birth of a Jew. It's funny. It's funny because it's true. They're satirizing something that is true. This woman hates Jews. She hates Judaism, as I will prove in a minute if you wait till the end of this video. And yet she worships a Jew. It's hilarious. It's objectively funny. And it's also a joke. Relax. She went crazy. She saw this joke, and obviously, because Seth Dillon, the CEO and the founder of Babylon Bee, is Jewish, she couldn't just take the joke. It had to be there had to be a conspiracy behind the joke. That Seth Dillon and the Babylon Bee, this is what she was saying, they never make jokes about Jews. This is what she posted on Twitter. She went crazy because of a joke. So that they made a joke about her. It's funny. She does hate Jews. She does hate Judaism. She does hate Israel. And yet she worships a Jewish man. That is hilarious. It's funny. She celebrates the day that a Jew was born. I find that to be hilarious. But it wasn't funny to Candace because you're not allowed to make fun of Candace Owens. You're not even allowed to criticize her, or else you're harassing her. So now she makes this whole conspiracy theory about how the Babylon Bee hates Christianity. They hate Christians. They hate her. This is a conspiracy. They never make jokes about Jews. And how they're actually really angry about her. She posted Megillas, like these long tweets, overkill, on X, just like fighting. And then is this an invitation for me to come on your podcast and discuss your really funny joke? Like, she can't joke or laugh at herself. She can't laugh at herself. Okay. Seth Dillon wrote something, and this is where her lie comes in. This is a perfect example of a lie told by Candace Owens. He wrote, yes, the joke is that Candace is obsessed with Jews. It's funny because it's true. This is his response to her. It's been true for a long time. Seth Dillon is right. It would be strange if we never joked about it. Then she proved it was true by getting mad and saying we attack Christians and never make fun of Jews because we have a secret agenda that she wants to expose. Okay, so because Seth Dillon is Jewish and because she doesn't like to be made fun of, she made a conspiracy theory. You hate Christians, you're making fun of Christians on Christmas Eve, you never make fun of Jews. Okay, then she made this insane video on YouTube. Honestly, the mental gymnastics that she was like jumping through, the mental gymnastics that she did in this YouTube video, I have no clue what she was trying to say because she doesn't know what she's trying to say. She just doesn't like Jewish people. Seth Dillon is Jewish. She doesn't like to be made fun of. Seth Dillon made fun of her. Like he makes fun of everyone. And listen to what she was saying.
Surface, the Babylon Bee tried to portray it as though I got angry because they told a quote unquote joke about me. Okay. So this was the joke that they ran during Christmas week or day before Christmas, whatever it was, on the Babylon Bee website. Candace Owens horrified to learn that Christmas was started by the birth of a Jew. Objectively, to me, not a funny joke. Kind of like I objectively didn't find Dave, I'm blanking on his last name. I should not be because he's the biggest comedian. Dave Chappelle's joke about me funny because he was it was coming from a place of anger about George Floyd. It's like, 70% pro Candace, 30% pro Babylon Bee, and then people just yelling at people saying that you're in a Candace cult. And no, it's because, again, the public isn't stupid and they're recognizing this sort of theme with the Babylon Bee. It's like the Zionist bee. It's like the, Babylonian Talmudic bee is what it's really become. It's just very obvious that they are worshiping Israel and that they base their jokes on people who don't worship Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. And people have started to notice that thread. And to let you know where my upset came from, because them trying to frame it to the public like she just can't take a joke is just absolute crap. It's the gaslighting. It's the stuff that Sigmund Freud's method of psychology is born of. That's fine, but at least have the courage, have the moral courage to admit that you are doing this because you have interests. You have interests just like the Jerusalem Post has interests, just like, PragerU has interests, except they at least have the courage to admit what those interests are. You're pro-Israel, okay? You see yourself racially as a Jew. It's why you post anti-white jokes when you get angry. And all that's fine, but stop hiding behind satire.
Okay, so of course, she says, I'm not obsessed with Jews. You guys are the Talmudic Babylonian, you guys are the Babylonian Talmudic bee. You're the Zionist bee. And you're just attacking me because I refuse to worship Israel. And you do worship Israel. She lied. This is a lie that she's not obsessed with Jews. She is obsessed with Jews, and I'm going to prove that to you right now. I'm not debunking any of her lies today. I'm not going to correct any of her non-facts. I have one goal. I would like to show everyone in the world that Mrs. Candace Owens Farmer is obsessed with Jewish people, with Judaism, and with the Jewish homeland Israel. It's a creepy obsession. It's a nauseating obsession. It's a disturbing obsession. It's a hateful obsession. And I won't stand by as she does it. Maligns our people, makes other people obsessed with Jews, and honestly, truthfully, endangers Jewish lives by spreading these obsessive lies and conspiracies about us. Here we go. Candace Owens claims that Hollywood is controlled by a gang of Jewish men who are all pedophiles and murderers and who prey on Black entertainers like Kanye West and Michael Jackson.
When he tweeted out, I'm about to go DEFCON 3 on some Jews, and the media freaked out. And even when Kanye did share that he was speaking about specific people in Hollywood that he believed were coming after him and were trying to control him, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach was threatening me. And it wasn't just him, it was also his daughter. They were messaging me saying, don't mess with Jews. Very bizarre stuff, and they have not stopped, to be clear. And so what I believe is something that should be explored is whether or not what's happening is that just like within all communities, there are gangs, right? Gangs can form, we understand this. In the Black community, we've got the Bloods and we've got the Crips. Well, imagine if the Bloods and the Crips were doing horrific things, murdering people, controlling people with blackmail. And then every time a person spoke out about it, the Bloods and the Crips would call those people racist, would get the media to say those people were racist. Any person that was talking about a specific gang, a small group of people, would say, oh my God, no. That's like slavery. You can't at all say anything bad about the Bloods and the Crips. And the entire Black community believed it and was scared and thought, oh my God, like, is slavery actually coming back? What if that is what is happening right now in Hollywood, if there is just a very small ring of specific people who are using the fact that they are Jewish to shield themselves from any criticism? It's food for thought, right? And I think, again, there have been enough people that are speaking out about a ring in Hollywood, also a ring potentially in DC, that we should start to ask those questions, all of us.
Candace also claims that the state of Israel was founded by a sect of Jews named Frankists, who are satanic, obviously, demonic, pedophilic, and who only established the state of Israel to traffic children into the state and to sexually assault them.
Many moons ago, before they decided to establish Israel as a country, I know you've read like the short version in the classroom, and it was like, oh, the Holocaust happened, and then we realized that Israel needs a state. No, that's not how it went down. That's not how it went down at the F all, okay? Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, and then they would find bodies, okay, across Europe, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel. They weren't Jews, okay? These were Frankists. And so just like Leo Frank killed Mary Fagin on Passover back in 1913 or 1914, I can't remember the exact date, he did it during Passover for a reason, this Frankist cult, which is masquerading behind Jews, still participates in this shit to this day, okay? Why would you want, as a small nation that is the size of New Jersey, okay, why would you want the pedophiles to flee there? Like, why would you want the pedophiles to be procreating? Unless the nation of Israel may have been established by some Frankists. And it's looking like Theodore Herzl's family was from the exact same area in Moravia and in Bohemia where the Frankist cult was founded. Crazy. Israel right now is a safe haven for pedophiles. The problem here, they practice incest and pedophilia as a sacramental right. I brought to my audience the fact, the indisputable fact. You can research this. So the issue that we have are people who are satanic have infiltrated all of the faiths. I have been talking about this on this podcast. And so after saying this and calling upon people to stand up to pedophiles,
Candace Owens claims that this sect of Jews named Frankists run the world, worship Satan, sexually assault children, and are interested in making the whole world worship Satan.
This is very scary stuff, and it seems that there is sort of an awakening happening where people are starting to recognize that something more sinister is going on. And of course, a recent example of that was just the Olympics. It does seem that they're trying to almost now indoctrinate the entire world into their satanic faith. And it, like I said, it is my belief that this is a synagogue of Satan. Like you mentioned, it is biblical. It mentions this, people who are pretending to be Jews, but are in fact people that worship Satan. And it seems like a very small, incredibly powerful group of elites. And I can trace this through to Australia, to Switzerland, to France, to America, to Canada. And it explains why it is the circumstance that all of these world leaders that we have, even President Zelensky, all seem to be homosexual.
Candace Owens claims that the Zohar, which is a foundational book of Judaism, is of course demonic, satanic, pedophilic, and those who study Kabbalah religiously, like myself, are trying to take over the world.
They are essentially, and this is Sigmund Freud was a Kabbalist, and they believe in bisexuality. They worship Baphomet. They are trying to use psychology to introduce, and I read this in a book by a Jewish historian, David Bacon, to make their religion the religion of the world,
yes.
Right? Which is a pedophile-centric religion that believes in demons. It believes in child sacrifice, and it is the reason that we have the circumstances that we are in today. And once you start realizing, like we said before we got live here, that Alex Jones was right when he started speaking about the satanic worshiping elites that are all pedophiles. Yeah. I remember first hearing Alex Jones being like, "This man is like
insane
on crack."
I was in my early 20s, and he's sitting there super energetic as always, ranting about these satanic pedophiles and how they're drinking the blood of children. I was like, really? Like, they're just politicians. I mean, they're not that bad.
How could that be happening?
Turns out he was completely right about everything.
Candace Owens claims that the Magen David is a satanic demonic symbol associated with magic, sorcery, demons, and Satanism.
When I was learning about Sabbatianism, and this really shocked me to my core because I've always told you guys I grew up with a large Jewish community. All my best friends were Jewish growing up. And I've always seen like the Star of David that is a lot of Jewish people wear as a necklace, and I thought that was associated traditionally somehow with Judaism. And so I was very surprised, and I will ask the question, do you know the history of the Star of David? I'm going to show you that there is a mention of that star. It is called something else in the Bible. It is referred to, and I'm going to just dig this up for you, something that is known as the Star of Remphan. I'm saying to you here, essentially, this Star of Remphan, which is being used, it was a symbol that the Canaanites used, and it was the star of a deity in which they worshipped. And I'm going to show you that Moloch, I guess. Okay, so again, you are seeing child sacrifice, which is what is being portrayed here. I'm not sure if we have another photo of Moloch, but yeah, it has long been understood. There's Baal, there's Moloch. It's all about child sacrifice, right? The Star of David that we know, actually, as we just saw, it's actually the Seal of Solomon. And it is telling you that King Solomon linked this with magic and sorcery. And the oldest magical text narrates Solomon's use of a magical ring to command demons. With the ascent of Christianity, books on magic were frowned upon, and the spread of magical practices was often associated with paganism. Okay.
Candace Owens claims that this sect of Jews, named Frankists, killed Christian children throughout history and drank their blood on Passover as a religious sacrament.
So much more that I could say, so much more history that I studied. There's a lot behind my refusal, my absolute refusal to bend the knee to Israel, as many American politicians have done. So there's too much that I've learned about their history, about what was done to Christians, which they're alleging now is blood libel. None of that's real. It didn't happen. People that have written about the Jewish mystic tradition, like the Christian mystic tradition, again, not Christian. These people are not Jewish. In my view, they are Satanists, and they have infiltrated our faiths. Most people don't know. They think that the nation of Israel was established because of World War II. No, there was a lot going on leading up to that. Okay, there were Christians that kept going missing on holidays, and the entire Christian world rose up and began publicizing, trying to point to what they deemed to be a satanic cult. Many a moons ago, before they decided to establish Israel as a country, I know you've read like the short version in the classroom, and it was like, oh, the Holocaust happened, and then we realized that Israel needs a state. No, that's not how it went down. That's not how it went down at the F all, okay? Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, and then they would find bodies, okay, across Europe, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel.
Candace Owens said that if anything happens to her or if she gets killed, you can definitely blame the Zionists. And also, they killed JFK.
Do you think it's normal, by the way, that basically every person who speaks about Israel has to basically say a statement that's like, I don't want to get killed? like literally, because speaking about it, people are like, Candace, beef up your security. That's not fucking normal. Excuse my language, but that is not normal. Okay, it's not normal that people have to think about their security because, and by the way, it's not normal that then the way that you get comfortable with it is you're like, well, they shot JFK in an open car, so there's not, he's a sitting president. Obviously my security doesn't really matter. If they want me, they're going to get me. That's not a normal thought process to have. We don't have that about any other country in the world except for the one that, took over ours. And that's the truth, okay? We are an occupied nation. I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. 1,000% blame the Zionists. Let that be my parting word.
Candace Owens is also an idiot and compared Israel to the segregated South.
Have you been to Israel?
Many times, yeah.
Many times. Have you been to Jerusalem?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things I'm trying to understand, because I've been as well. And when people call it, this bastion of freedom, or it's just like America, it's not the sense that I had when I was there. And I grew up, at my grandparents' house. My grandfather grew up in a segregated South. And so when I'm walking through Jerusalem and you see, and they say, these are the Muslim quarters, this is where the Muslims are allowed to live. That doesn't feel like a bastion of freedom to me. It looked very different from where, the Jewish people were living. And, it was noticeably a lot dirtier. It was noticeably a lot darker. And it just made me feel as a Black American and knowing my own history that this is not, this isn't freedom to me. If you can't just decide, I want to live on that street or I want to live on this street.
Candace Owens says that Israel is genocidal and are putting Gazans through an actual Holocaust.
That what Bibi Netanyahu has done to the Palestinians since October 7th is a Holocaust. It is a Holocaust that is being committed on Palestinian children and women. And I'm not going to quiet my perspective on that, to kowtow to whatever the prevailing narrative is at the New York Post.
Candace Owens insinuated that Israel was behind the 9/11 attacks.
Plenty of Americans who thought that it was, at the very least, incredibly suspicious during 9/11, shortly thereafter, when this segment ran, also back in 2002, on ABC News.
It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed three men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me. You know, they didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli.
All right, guys, so nothing to see there. Obviously, you'd be a conspiracy theorist if you had any questions about that. You actually would be worse. You'd probably be anti-Semite if you had any questions about a foreign government overseas that had people who were attached to their intelligence apparatus who were celebrating and taking photos as the towers burned and American citizens were dying. Yeah, don't be any of those things.
Candace Owens insinuated that Israel killed JFK.
Once was a president named JFK, well-liked. In 1963, he had a little bit of a brush up with what was then known as the American Zionist Council. JFK was demanding, his DOJ was demanding for the AZC registration. They were like, you are a foreign agent of Israel. And the department wrote to them in October 11th of 1963, the DOJ wrote a demand to the AZC, the American Zionist Congress, to respond within 72 hours regarding them registering as a foreign agent. And guess what happened? And I guess that ended up working in their favor.
Candace Owens claims that the mass murderer Stalin was, of course, guess what she said he was? Obviously, he's Jewish.
Gets into the question of the media who for a very long time tried to convince us that Stalin and Vladimir Lenin were anti-Semitic. And then I learned, wait, Stalin was married to...
Yes, they were literally a part of the Jewish cabal that, you know, and credit
when I
to
talk
you.
about crushing history, where if you even say that, which I'm saying it, because I've looked into it and I found a friend who understands Georgian, and they're like, everybody knows that Stalin was Jewish. And I'm like, but Americans don't know this.
But Candace, they were the good guys. They helped us defeat Nazi Germany. They were the good guys. They were
as
on
they
our
were
team.
mass murdering Christians.
Oh, 100 million
and
people.
That
doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. 100 million people got murdered. No. They're on our team. They're the good guys. That's what the history books say.
Candace Owens calls Jewish people that she doesn't like, or Jewish people who criticize her or that she disagrees with, myself included, my father included, Bolsheviks, Marxists, DC Jews, and the synagogue of Satan.
This sort of DC Jew who was using these words not because they believed that what they were hearing was actually anti-Semitism or Jew hating, but to basically silence people. They were threatening people. What I started to recognize and what I now understand is that just like Black people are not a monolith, Jewish people are not a monolith. There are all different types of Jewish people. And this particular people that I've been talking about, that I'm talking about right now, represent a fringe minority of Jewish people that want nothing more than political power. These people are ultimately Marxists, okay? Why else would you do this? Why else would you refer to someone who is so clearly and evidentially not a Jew hater as one? That is emotional manipulation and the worst kind. It's evil is what it is. These individuals are evil Marxists. They do underhanded things, underhanded tactics to freak people out and to ultimately cause division. And here's what I would like to say to you, Rabbi, since you're quoting scripture. I think what's relevant is Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley. And people can see and hear evil, and what you are doing right now is an act of evil. The lies that you are telling.
Candace Owens, who hates Kamala Harris, claims that Kamala Harris must also, in fact, be Jewish.
Some evidence, some strong evidence that pointed to the fact that somewhere along the line, Kamala had Jewish ancestors. Why is Kamala hiding aspects of her heritage? Like, why would you need to hide that you're Jewish?
Candace Owens claims that the Rebbe, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the greatest and most famous Jew of the 20th century, was a racial supremacist.
Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. He said he was his mentor and his friend. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Rabbi Schneerson, there were some Jews who believed that he was and is the Messiah. So rejecting Christ, but believing that that rabbi was his Messiah. What did Rabbi Schneerson preach? Well, he preached Jewish supremacism, the hatred of all non-Jews.
Candace Owens claims that America is being held hostage by Israel.
No, I'm not going to say it, but it seems like our country is being held hostage by Israel.
Candace Owens claims that the banning of TikTok is a sneaky, manipulative strategy by Israel to win over the minds of young Americans.
Same year, banning TikTok in just 45 days if it was not sold. And guess what happened? That executive order got blocked. The app survived until the app got on the wrong side of Israel. You guys remember this. After October 7th, things on TikTok weren't trending in the pro-Israel way. In fact, it was very much trending in the pro-Palestinian way. And the ADL's John Greenblatt said, yeah, no, this is a problem and we have to deal with it. Let me jog your memory. Here's what he said.
Really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem.
Seems like a really nice guy. He just needs to deal with this generational problem that is TikTok. And boy, did he move fast.
Candace Owens said about the actor Jonah Hill that he's so warm and likable, you don't even think twice about the fact that he's Jewish.
Just so warm and so likable, you don't even think twice about the fact that he's Jewish.
Candace Owens claims that Jews are always victimizing themselves.
I think that there is an element of selfishness that undergirds this, where no matter what, anytime you talk about anybody else's pain, Jewish people sort of pop up and suddenly they're like, what about us? What about us? And it's like, it's always been about you. It's literally always been about you. We're literally mandated to learn about the Holocaust in school.
Candace Owens claims to have cared that Jews were slaughtered on October 7th. But this is what she said right after the October 7th attacks.
When it comes to this particular issue, I myself have received pressure to post something, which is strange, of course, because if you follow this show, you know that we follow culture, that we talk about politics as it relates to America. You've never seen me weigh in on various wars that are happening overseas. And on this one, I definitely want to make sure that I take my time and that I make sure that I understand what's happening.
Candace Owens lied to millions of people and said that during the Super Bowl, Israel bombed a refugee camp, when in fact, on the night of the Super Bowl, Israel rescued 2 hostages from Rafah.
It comes with propaganda to remind you to get to work, right? To get to work, because we have a vision of how your tax dollars should be spent overseas. And so it's quite remarkable that Israel, the government that takes billions of dollars from us every year, decided to take not 2, but 3 commercials. Now, the government themselves sponsored 2 commercials at the Super Bowl. Super Bowl commercials, just so you know, $7 million per an ad, okay? So that means that the Israeli government spent $14 million for a primetime spot. Their commercials were basically them saying that there are hostages and they intend to get the hostages and bring the dads home that are being held by Hamas. Now, of course, why would this premiere during a Super Bowl? There's nothing that we as the American people can do about that hostage effort over there. So what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to pull at your heartstrings and make you not ask any questions about what they're doing overseas. And actually, last night, in case you're wondering, while the Super Bowl was on, Netanyahu bombed a refugee camp. But don't ask any questions about that. You need to get to work and feel bad and have your heartstrings pulled to justify every war that's happening overseas.
Candace Owens claims that Mengele's experiments on Jews during the Holocaust sound like propaganda.
Move on to the experimentation. Yes, of course, that's been embedded into our minds. The Nazis experimented on innocent people. Candace, come on, that's the difference. They experimented on twins. I mean, some of the stories, by the way, sound completely absurd. I'm like, the idea that they just like cut a human up and then sewed them back together. Why would you do that? Literally, even if you're the most evil person in the world, that's a tremendous waste of time and supplies. Just slice a person in half and sew them together. That just sounds like bizarre propaganda.
Candace Owens mocked the claims that Jewish Israeli women were raped on October 7th because we shouldn't believe all women. She then brought on Brianna Joy Gray on her show, who claimed outright on Candace's show that Israel was lying and there were no raped women on October 7th.
She seems to have rolled her eyes when the young woman told her to believe women. I mean, that hashtag just believe women, of course, is something that makes me roll my eyes as well. We want to believe our hard facts.
There have been ample reports discrediting the New York Times reporting about the quote unquote mass rapes that happened on October 7th, including most recently in the Times of London, really destroying all of the sources that were used in that initial reporting that was so controversial even within the New York Times that its own daily podcast department declined to do a podcast on the story because it was so riddled with obvious inconsistencies and reporting errors.
I am wishing you the most luck. Can you allow us to know where we can follow you and how they can support you? Let my listeners know how they can support you.
Candace Owens supported, encouraged, defended Kanye West, as he said the most atrocious thing about Jewish people, like Jews milk black people until they die, and that Hitler was a good guy. She claimed they were really good friends, even though they had just met.
I like Hitler.
I don't like Hitler. And I know you're trying to be shocking with that.
I'm not trying to be shocking. I like Hitler. I do not. The Holocaust is not what happened. Let's look at the facts of that. And Hitler has a lot of redeeming qualities.
You love Jews, but you're canceled for anti-Semitism because you also love Hitler, but you love everyone equally. Good guys and bad guys.
Yeah, Jewish people can't tell me who I can love and who I can't love. You can't force your pain on everyone else. Jewish people, forgive Hitler today. Let it go. Let it go and stop trying to force it on other people. I see good things about Hitler also. I love everyone, and Jewish people are not going to tell me you can love, us, and you can love what we're doing to you with the contracts, and you can love what we're pushing with the pornography. But this guy that invented highways, invented the very microphone that I use as a musician. You can't say out loud that this person ever did anything good, and I'm done with that. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
This is one of the things that's fascinating. First, I'd like to point to how interesting it is that the entire world came down on Kanye West, canceled him, took away his contracts, made his entire family come out and make statements against him when he tweeted that he was going to go DEFCON 3 on some Jewish people, I think is what he wrote verbatim. And now we fast forward to today when Israel is literally going DEFCON 3 on Palestinians.
He didn't say some, he said on Jewish people.
Okay, sure. And now we fast forward to today when Israel is literally going DEFCON 3 on Palestinians, and those same media members seem extremely cautious in their language. So the tweet is actual death, but the actual bombs being dropped, for some reason, real violence is something that the media can get comfortable with.
Guys, if this is not an obsession with Jewish people, with Judaism, with Jewish homeland, with all things Jewish, then I don't know what is. I will not stand by as Candace Owens maligns our people, obsesses over our people, endangers our people, and creates conspiracy theories about the Jewish people, because historically, and this is something we're going to go into on this podcast, this has led to the murder and slaughter of Jews, millions of Jews throughout history. So welcome back to my podcast, and welcome for the first time to the Crazy Candace Owens podcast series. And I can't wait to see you next week and the next week and the next week, and for as many weeks and years as Candace Owens lies or obsesses over Jewish people, I will be here to debunk her lies. I'll see you next time.